gorgeous beings, welcome back once again to Shelter in the Storm with A Course in Miracles lesson 79. We're still in part 5 of chapter 5, the ego's use of guilt. The ego is the part of the mind that believes in division. How could part of God detach itself without believing it is attacking him? We spoke before of the authority problem as based on the concept of usurping God's power. The ego believes that this is what you did because it believes that it is you. If you identify with the ego, you must perceive yourself as guilty. Whenever you respond to your ego, you will experience guilt, and you will fear punishment. The ego is quite literally a fearful thought. However ridiculous the idea of attacking God may be to the sane mind, never forget that the ego is not sane. It represents a delusional system and speaks for it. Listening to the ego's voice means that you believe it is possible to attack God and that a part of him has been torn away by you. Fear of retaliation from without follows, because the severity of the guilt is so acute that it must be projected. Whatever you accept into your mind has reality for you. It is your acceptance of it that makes it real. If you enthrone the ego in your mind, your allowing it to enter makes it your reality. This is because the mind is capable of creating reality or making illusions. I said before that you must learn to think with God. To think with him is to think like him. This engenders joy, not guilt, because it is natural. Guilt is a sure sign that your thinking is unnatural. Unnatural thinking will always be attended with guilt, because it is the belief in sin. The ego does not perceive sin as a lack of love, but as a positive act of assault. This is necessary to the ego's survival because as soon as you regard sin as lack, you will automatically attempt to remedy the situation, and you will succeed. The ego regards this as doom, but you must learn to regard it as freedom. The guiltless mind cannot suffer. Being sane, the mind heals the body because it has been healed. This lost my spot. The sane mind cannot conceive of illness because it cannot conceive of attacking anyone or anything. I said before that illness is a form of magic. It might be better to say that it is a form of magical solution. The ego believes that by punishing itself, it will mitigate the punishment of God. Yet even in this, it is arrogant. It attributes to God a punishing intent, and then takes this intent as its own prerogative. It tries to usurp all the functions of God as it perceives them, because it recognizes that only total allegiance can be trusted. Okay, that's our text for tonight. Moving on to lesson 79. I'm so tired tonight, guys. Please forgive me if I mess the reading up a little bit. I'm doing my best. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. A problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. Even if it is really solved already, you will still have the problem because you will not recognize that it has been solved. This is the situation of the world. The problem of separation, which is really the only problem, has already been solved. Yet the solution is not recognized because the problem is not recognized. Everyone in this world seems to have his own special problems, yet they are all the same and must be recognized as one, if the solution that solves them all is to be accepted. Who can see that a problem has been solved if he thinks the problem is something else? Even if he is given the answer, he cannot see its relevance. That is the position in which you find yourself now. You have the answer, but you are still uncertain about what the problem is. A long series of different problems seems to confront you, and as one is settled, the next one and the next arise. There seems to be no end to them. There is no time in which you feel completely free of problems and at peace. The temptation to regard problems as many is the temptation to keep the problem of separation unsolved. The world seems to present you with a vast number of problems, each requiring a different answer. And this perception places you in a position in which your problem solving must be inadequate and failure is inevitable. No one could solve all the problems the world appears to hold. They seem to be on so many levels, in such varying forms, and with such varied content, that they confront you with an impossible situation. Dismay and depression are inevitable as you regard them. Some spring up unexpectedly, just as you think you have resolved the previous ones. Others remain unsolved under a cloud of denial, and arise to haunt you from time to time, only to be hidden again, but still unsolved. All this complexity is but a desperate attempt not to recognize the problem, and therefore not to let it be resolved. If you could recognize that your only problem is separation, no matter what form it takes, you could accept the answer because you would see its relevance. Perceiving the underlying constancy in all the problems that seem to confront you, you would understand that you have the means to solve them all, and you would use the means because you recognize the problem. In our longer practice periods today, we will ask what the problem is and what is the answer to it. We will not assume that we already know. We will try to free our minds of all the many different kinds of problems we think we have. We will try to realize that we have only one problem, which we have failed to recognize. We will ask what it is and wait for the answer. We will be told. Then we will ask for the solution to it, and we will be told. The exercises for today will be successful to the extent to which you do not insist on defining the problem. Perhaps you will not succeed in letting all your preconceived notions go. But that is not necessary. All that is necessary is to entertain some doubt about the reality of your version of what your problems are. You are trying to recognize that you have been given the answer by recognizing the problem, so that the problem and the answer can be brought together and you can be at peace. The shorter practice periods for today will not be set by time, but by need. You will see many problems today, each one calling for an answer. Our efforts will be directed toward recognizing that there is only one problem and one answer. In this recognition are all problems resolved. In this recognition there is peace. Be not deceived by the form of problems today. Whenever any difficulty seems to arise, tell yourself quickly, "Let me recognize this problem so that it can be solved." Then try to suspend all judgment about what the problem is. If possible, close your eyes for a moment and ask what it is. You will be heard, and you will be answered. There is lesson 79. Okay, so Jesus' commentary for lesson 79. Let me recognize the problem so that it can be solved. Excuse my garden fingernails. I've been scratching around in the garden all afternoon. That's why I'm so tired. Happy though. You are blessed beings, indeed. I am that one you know as Jesus. This is a very important lesson. As I seem to say so often with these lessons, they are brilliant, they are definitive, in the sense they help you narrow your focus into the correct place and in the right direction. When you think somebody causes you a problem, you always look to that person to solve it for you. He or she should not have said that. He or she should change. He or she should not be so independent or clingy. Whatever you decide is the problem. This is one of the ways you guarantee you will never solve the problem, because the problem is one of perception. The problem is within your own mind. It appears out in front of you through the practice of projection, so it seems unsolvable. This is one of the great tricks of ego consciousness. It constantly creates situations outside of you that change form, deceive you, or tempt you so that you will not go to the one place where the solution lies, which is inside. The answer is within you. It is, as you say in your modern vernacular, an inside job. If you don't know that, if you don't know that getting calm and quiet and going inside to ask for guidance is how to truly solve the problem, then you chase idols all around the planet all your life, trying to solve a never-ending line of unsolvable problems. Even when you do solve one, another one pops up just as quickly. This idea of asking to be shown the problem and realizing it is separation from all that is, separation from love in that sense, separation from wisdom. There are many forms of separation going on this earth plane, and leads you to resolve the problem by the same thing, which is the practice of forgiveness as described in the A Course in Miracles text. Forgiveness stops you from attacking the outside, from moving the chairs around on the Titanic to keep it from sinking, and directs you to go inside to do the work there and ask to be shown. What is the distortion in my mind? Where is the problem in my mind? Now, this may seem like blaming the victim to some of you, but we want you to understand you maintain that entire illusory world in which you live by projection and belief in separation as the fundamental structure of this reality as you understand it. It is through knowing and acting in accord that you are not separate. You come from the same place. You are all made from the same thing, of the same thing, and you are loved by that which you call God. When that realization is truly made, there are no problems anymore. You have healed the fractured mind of the Son of God. I am that one you know as Jesus, and we will speak to you tomorrow. Namaste, friends. Much love.